Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Monday, November 11th, 2019. Like, I just looked it up. Happy Veterans Day to any of you vets out there. Thanks for your service. May not always agree with the conflicts we're involved in, but always support our troops. Yeah, anyway. So, I was going to talk about, like, the fun stuff Epidemic and I did in Kingdom Death Monsters over a week ago. And I'm going to push that just one more day. I have a feeling that one's going to turn out like the last time I tried to tell the story of what we did in Kingdom Death Monsters, where I was like, oh, it was awesome, it was fantastic, and wow, it took me a whole 10 minutes to tell you the story. And then there were steel drums, and anyway, so I used to do the weekend gaming report every Monday. F&M, I piloted Storm for the first time, went 1-3, lost 0-2 to Burn round 1. He won the die roll. I was Cody, which I just want to say, it is awesome to see him back in the shop. He hadn't been coming around for a while, and, you know, miss the guy. And I don't know, I may have like mispiloted in that match, probably, because, you know, it didn't come out standard, where it's like, play a cost reducer. Do I have these cards? Yes, go off. It was play a cost reducer. Oh, you killed my cost reducer. Play a cost reducer. Oh, you killed my cost reducer. Play a cost reducer. Ah, you killed it. Okay. Oh, I'm dead? Cool. So, probably didn't manage that matchup the way I was supposed to. I probably didn't, like, have the best keep, honestly. Round 2 played against Druid Company, and the guy, I don't know if I've given him a moniker, because he, like, randomly blows in. We're gonna call him Tex, because he frequently mentions how, you know, he's originally from Texas, because, you know, especially while us Northerners are like, oh my god, it's so hot. He's like, babies. And we get to winter, and he's like, well, we get to fall, and he's like, man, it's cold. So, it was great to see him, too. He only comes in, like, once every, you know, few months, and, you know, he used to come in more, and I know there was at least one tournament I went to with him. Like, that he was part of the group that I went with. He's always, like, super nice and everything, so. Yeah, he won the die roll. Game 1, I lost by 1 turn. Game 2, he lost by 1 turn. And Game 3, we both mulled to, like, 5. It was like, it's gonna take some effort, but we might get there. And he did, and I did not. And that's how that went. But it was a good matchup. Didn't really mind losing that one. Getting blown out by Burn, I'm pretty sure I did something wrong. Then round 3, beat Martyr Proc. Soul Sisters. I really don't know what the difference between Martyr Proc and Soul Sisters is, so yeah, one of those two decks. He got up above 40 life both games, so it took quite the storm count. But he got really unlucky, because both games, I, like, play my cost reducer, or he, you know, on turn 1, he plays Martyr of Sands on his side. On my turn 1, you know, play Cantrip X. On his turn 2, he plays out a 1-drop and sacks the Martyr. And on my turn 2, I play a cost reducer. I think game 1, on his turn 2, he sacks the Martyr and paths my cost reducer. It was a Goblin Electromancer. And, like, I really needed the extra land. Because I think I needed a second blue source. I think is what was going on there. Either that or I need more red. But in any case, like, I played the second Electromancer and went off. And then game 2, you know, him being on the play. So his turn 2, he sacks his Martyr and plays a 1-drop. My turn 2, I play Brawl. Pass the turn. I have another Brawl in hand, and I'm like, man, this fucking sucks. Of course, it's got to be the legendary one that I have multiples of. That's something I need to learn. Like, when your cost reducer lives, and you have an opportunity to start going off, do you spend the mana on dropping a second cost reduction creature, like, if you have it? Is that a thing you do, or do you just, like, go off with the one? Is the one, you know, plenty? I'm not sure. So he paths my Brawl, and, like, oh, we're on his turn 3. So he plays another Martyr, or he plays a Serra Ascendant, and Soul's Attendant, and paths my Brawl. So then my turn 3, I drop Brawl and, you know, just go off. And both times I had to get both grape shots in the graveyard. Because, I mean, I guess I could have grabbed Remand instead of Grape Shot on one of the gifts hits. But instead I just went for both Grape Shots, and, you know, like, I start racking up the storm count, and he's like, can you get to 40? And I'm like, no, but I can get to 22. He's like, well, that's not enough. And I'm like, it is when you have 2 Grape Shots. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh. Sad face. And then round 4, I lost 0-2 to my kid playing my humans deck. She didn't hit any sideboard hate in game 2, but she showed me how she boarded, and she boarded exactly correct. When husband and I were playing, like, our kind of trial matches, we didn't sideboard at all, but he went through the sideboard at the end, and he's like, okay, so I guess you put in the Damping Spheres and the Campbell and Sin Collectors. He's like, and I guess you put in, you know, the Grafdigger's Cages. And I'm like, ooh, I've never put in Grafdigger's Cage against Storm. I've never really thought about it. I can see the logic, but I feel like, what do you want to get out? You want to get your Reflector Mages out, because they're near worthless in the matchup. You want to be doing something much, much better when you have the ability to drop a 3-drop. So Reflector Mages go, Deputies go. So that's 6 cards. I think there's still 4 reflectors in the main. So that makes room for 2 Damping Spheres, 1 Campbell, 2 Sin Collectors. Maybe it's only 5 cards. Maybe there's still only 3 Reflector Mages. But you want the 2 Damping Spheres. You want... Campbell's kind of... That one's even questionable. Because, yeah, it taxes, you know, going on massive storm count. But if you have the Grape Shot in hand, you can, you know, start going off, take some damage, and kill Campbell. Also, post-board against humans, you put in, you know, things like Lightning Bolt and a Braid. So you can kill the Thalias, because they're a giant pain in the ass. And you definitely want the Braids, because pretty much all of humans, non-creature based hate is artifacts. Not pretty much, it is. because humans can't reliably cast non-creature spells that have colored mana costs. 12 of your lands only make colored mana for humans. Or for creatures, depending on what you need. Now, only 4 of those lands straight up only make mana for creatures. So your chances of being able to put down an artifact are pretty good. You're... like, even Deputy of Detention in the main, it's just really not my favorite, because it tends to make things real awkward. If you're in a matchup that you actually want to try to get him down ASAP, you gotta name, like, Wizard with one of your lands. And, like, of course, Meddling Mage isn't a wizard, he's a mage. Same with Reflector Mage. Or, I guess you can name Veldikin. Like, it doesn't really matter which side you name, because that's pretty much the only creature of those types in the deck. So if you have to waste a territory or a cavern on naming this off creature type, the only other non-human in the deck, of course, is Phantasmal Image. You know, in the main deck. Again, your sideboard things get a little sketchier because you need that utility, so, you know, you run like Night of Autumn. But I would rather set aside one of my tribal lands for Image, or for Illusion, than I would for Deputy, because Phantasmal Image gets to be whatever I need the most at that moment, as long as another copy's already on the battlefield. So yeah, it makes things real sketchy when you go off the human's tribal. So you definitely put in the Abrades, and then, you know, you just hit Campbell with an Abrade. Like, the only time he becomes seriously problematic is if he lives long enough to get counters from a lieutenant. But even there, it's with Grape Shot, it's really not that bad, especially with Past in Flames. If you have to waste the first hit on the Grape Shot, because humans really doesn't gain much life and actually pings itself pretty hard with the Canopy lands. I mean, not super hard, but the damage, statistically speaking, the damage it takes from its own lands is equal or greater than the life it even has potential to gain. And you don't put in things like Ariok Champion or Night of Autumn against Storm, because they're not helpful. And against Storm, you really want just the right mix of aggression and disruption. So, yeah, humans slows you down with its disruption. I usually side in Campbell, but it's more of a, I just want to get one of the dead cards out because it's less dead than these other cards. But yeah, the Damping Spheres and the Sin Collectors are definites. The Kitesail Freebooters in that matchup are a little bit of a liability. But any damage they have to divert to your creatures away from you, kind of like in Burn, it works to your favor. I mean, Sin Collector, of course, is better because the spell is just gone. Like, period, done, out. In any case, so yeah, it never occurred to me to side in Grafdigger's Cage, but like, what do you take out to put in Grafdigger's Cage? What is Grafdigger's Cage more effective at doing in that match, or more effective at slowing down that match than, you know, alright, Y'all know what I mean. I'm giving up on that right there. Wow. So, anyway. So yeah, not terrible, but not great. But I got a lot to learn. You know, this is completely different than what I usually play, so. But the real reason I wanted to push back the KDM episode is to talk about the super awesomeness yesterday. So, Mirror Match hit me up and said about going down to this con in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It's about a 40-minute drive-ish from, like, this area. Because Seb McKinnon was there. Now, Seb is apparently Canadian. I thought he was European. He is from the Montreal area, so I think he may be French-Canadian, which may be where my confusion came from. But he doesn't come to the States very often. So, chances to actually meet him and get things signed and everything are pretty limited. I have to say, I would probably do this convention again next year, especially if they get somebody awesome like him there. Because we were talking to him. By the way, he is just like the nicest fucking guy ever. Like, I'm talking Jerry Thompson level nice. Maybe not quite as outgoing and like extroverted as Jerry, but like super, super nice guy. Like, Mirror Match stood there and talked to him for, you know, like 10 minutes about, you know, music and that kind of stuff. So, one of the sponsors for this convention, which is a comic shop, and I wish I could remember their name right now, they actually funded his travel to get here. Which, I think if you're going to headline somebody at your event to get more people to show up, you really need to, in some way, facilitate them being there. God, what? Is it Four Corners? No, I don't think that's right. Anyway, I'll have to, like, look up the name of the comic shop that sponsored this event, or at least in part, and got him there. And that was, like, the whole reason Mirror Match and I were going down. Like, we weren't playing any events or anything. We were going to meet Seb McKinnon and sit in his panel, where he, like, showed his kind of proof of concept short video, just a couple scenes from the movie he's been working on making, The Stolen Child. And I asked him if he did, like, a mat with the Answered Prayers art on it, because it's my favorite. He also mentioned it's one of his favorites. And he said for the next Kickstarter there would be a backer reward with that artwork. So I am, fingers crossed, that this career uncertainty is all worked out by then, and I'm in a position to kick into that Kickstarter, because one, I would love a playmat with Answered Prayers art on it. Oh my god. I don't think I'd ever play with another mat again. Unless he somehow made another piece that I loved more than that art. But I also, like, I really want to contribute to having this movie made, because it looks fucking awesome. Yeah, so the guy, like, paints and, you know, does visual artwork. He makes music with, it's like a collaborative under the name Clan, with 2 N's. Then, must be a writer, because he's putting together this movie that he has written, and he is producing and directing, and also plays a character in it. Like, I mean, what does this dude not do? It can't be much. And yeah, he was super, super nice. So I got, like, a sweet limited edition print of Twilight Prophet, and, like, he even gave me a certificate of authenticity with it and everything, like, hand numbered. He had one of the Chalice of the Void mats with the new art. I really wanted my Judge promos to get here in time so I could take them with me to have him sign, but sadly I did not. And he had one of the mats. I almost picked it up, but then, you know, he mentioned the possibility of me being able to get an answered prayers mat, and yeah. He was selling it for $50. Apparently they go for upwards of $100. Not that I'd ever sell it if I did get one. And I mean, the chalice art is just fucking gorgeous as well. But they were limited edition. I know Mirror Match had asked him about the... Is it Kambuchi Witches? Kambuki Witches? Something like that. The art he had done for the newer printing of that. Or might have been an online printing. In any case, Mirror Match asked him if he'd ever put that on a mat again, and he was like, well, I mean, they were limited edition for the Kickstarter backers, so probably not, because then that devalues the first edition. Mirror Match was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I just really like the artwork. Man, I just love his work. And, it was great sitting in the panel, getting to watch the bit of this movie that he's putting together, and even hear him answer other people's questions about different aspects. And if you get an opportunity, like if you can find this short, the proof of concept video, I totally recommend watching it. It doesn't look low budget. Like, it is incredibly well done. Especially, there's a large portion of it that's like a nighttime scene that is really dark. Like, the only light is this torchlight. And Epidemic is like real big film buff, and he really enjoys listening to a lot of the director's commentary. And I can remember him telling me, it was either Wes Craven or John Carpenter, I think it was Wes Craven, that like in every commentary, of course, because Wes Craven did horror flicks, at least one scene would come up where he talked about how difficult it was to light this scene because it was a nighttime shoot. But like the visual from this scene in his little short, it's just fantastic. Like, it is so incredibly well done. So that was like my huge excitement in the current semi-mess of things going on, is getting to meet Seb McKinnon. And I got him to sign 2 copies of Answered Prayers. I couldn't find the art card to take with me, which really annoyed me, but kind of have nobody to blame but myself, because I'm pretty sure it was me that like has that stored in some random place in our house and not with the cards all nicely cataloged, but how my husband does. I got a selfie with him, so it's kind of funny. Mirror Match and I like got there before they opened, so we were some of the first people in the hall. So we were second in line to talk to him. And Mirror Match got a selfie with him the first time we talked to him. And then we went to the panel, we watched the short, we listened to him answer questions and everything. And as they're wrapping that up, I look at Mirror Match and I'm like, now I really want a selfie with him. Mirror Match is like, do you want to go wait in line again? And I'm like, I do. And he's like, let's go wait in line again. So we go wait in a longer line this time. Because, a lot of people were there to see Seb, it seemed. And, I just kind of got up to the table and I'm like, yeah, sorry to hassle you again, but, like, can I get a photo with you? And he's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, like, seriously, super sweet guy. And I am, like, really excited to see where he goes with this filmmaking. I mean, of course, I would be really sad if he diverted into filmmaking and stopped making art for Magic, because I love his artwork. But also it would be really awesome to see, these visions come to life. Also, I have to say, for being like a really tiny convention, this seemed really well organized. Now, his panel was supposed to start at 10 and didn't actually seem to get started until like 10:30. So they were just a tad behind schedule, but it's really not that bad. Now, I didn't play in any events. The events were held in a separate building from the kind of artist alley, vendor's bazaar. Oh, what are we doing? There we go. But they seem to do pretty well. I actually had found out about the convention because somebody reached out to me about judging it. But compensation was convention cash. They had an MCQ there on Saturday. And, not knowing what that would offer, I think if approached to next year, I would consider it. Because I could easily, especially if they have freaking Seb McKinnon there again, I can easily spend $100 on his stuff. I don't know if it applies to that though. Oh wow, I didn't even think about that. But it only applies to certain vendors and all that. Like, nah, alright, never mind. Anyway, so yeah, it was a super great experience. It's also, really cool to hang out with Mirror Match. It was just him and I that drove down. I went and picked him up, and we drove down, and, did the convention hall wander and all that. And then drove back up this way, stopped, had lunch, and I, dropped him off. And I think that's the first time him and I have ever hung out, just the two of us. We all usually travel to events in a pack, and, we definitely traveled to a few events together, but then it's a bunch of us, so that was really cool actually. He's been a pretty good friend from the shop for a couple of years now. I love all the players in our community, of course some more than others. There are people I would go out of my way to not spend time with outside of the shop, just because we don't fit together well, and I find being around them to be a little bit wearing. But there really are only a handful that I would go out of my way to spend time with outside of, gaming in general, and Mirror Match is definitely one of them. So that was a pretty awesome time. It was nice to kind of escape the reality of uncertainty going on right now. And over the weekend, I sent an email out to my former managing director. Very carefully worded email. Basically asking him to come back and explaining, why it would be a benefit. Still haven't heard back. But I left there on good terms, so there's hope. And at least I didn't just get a resounding, yeah, no. So, fingers crossed. Also, the one recruiter I'm working with that my former colleague put me in touch with, she's been great. She, hits me up with questions about my experience and everything, every other day. Or it's oh, so I have this other posting. Let's see if, you have what they're looking for. Also, I have a call tomorrow with the architect from the one recruiting firm I've been talking with, so he can gauge my skill level to see if they want to put me in for a couple openings they have. And the current contracting vendor I'm working for, they of course want to keep me on their payroll because they make money off of me working. So they're looking into what they have, so hopefully something shakes loose soon. But all in all, I said it before, we'll be fine. I can use this as an excuse to launch my awesome streaming career. No. Just no. But that's really all I got for today. Pioneer bands weren't out when I left work. Maybe they'll be up now. I don't know. Maybe there's no new bands. I don't know. But anyway, I'm home now. So, as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.